I went hiking in northern Montana back in the fall of 2018. It wasn't one of those popular national park trails packed with tourists and families. This place was remote, the kind of trail where you could hike for 6 hours and never see another person. Honestly, that's why I liked it. I had just gone through a rough breakup at the time, and being out in the wilderness felt like the only thing that quieted my head. The trail started near an abandoned ranger station just off an old logging road. There were no signs, no maps, not even a parking lot, just a dirt clearing and a rusted gate that looked like nobody had touched it in years. I parked my truck there around noon and started hiking. The first couple hours were peaceful. The forest was dense with pine trees, and the farther in I went, the quieter everything became. Too quiet. No birds, no insects, nothing. At first I didn't think much of it, but eventually I realized I hadn't heard a single animal in over an hour. No movement in the trees, no wind. Just my boots against the dirt. Around late afternoon, I came across an old fire tower. It stood above the trees on a rocky hill overlooking the forest. The stairs leading up to it looked ancient, but surprisingly stable. I figured it'd be a good place to stop, eat something, and watch the sunset before heading back. As I climbed the tower, I noticed something strange. There were fresh footprints on the metal stairs. Bare footprints, not boot prints, human feet. I stopped halfway up and stared at them. They looked dirty, almost muddy, and they continued all the way to the top. I remember feeling uncomfortable, but I told myself maybe some idiot climbed the tower barefoot. Still, something about it felt wrong. The footprints were too deep, like whoever made them was unusually heavy. When I finally reached the top platform, nobody was there, just an old chair, a broken radio, and empty forest in every direction. I sat down anyway and started eating. The sun was beginning to set behind the mountains when I heard it, a voice, far off in the trees below me. Hello? It was faint, almost carried by the wind. I stood up and looked over the railing. Nothing. Then I heard it again. Hey, this time closer. I couldn't see anyone, but it sounded like a man calling up from the forest. I yelled back, "Are you okay?" No response. For maybe 30 seconds, everything went silent again. Then I heard branches crunching, slowly, circling the base of the tower. At this point, I assumed it was another hiker who got lost or injured. I leaned over the railing, trying to spot him through the trees. That's when I noticed something moving below. At first, I only saw flashes between the trunks, a shape, tall, too tall. It moved strangely, jerking between trees instead of walking naturally. I called out again, no answer. Then suddenly, "Can you help me?" The voice came from directly beneath the tower, and it sounded exactly like me. Every hair on my body stood up, not similar, not close. It was my voice, perfectly. I backed away from the railing so fast, I nearly fell. My heart was pounding hard enough to hurt. Then the thing below laughed, not loudly, just a quiet chuckle. My chuckle. I don't know how to explain what I felt in that moment. It was like every instinct in my body suddenly started screaming at me to stay quiet. I grabbed my backpack and headed for the stairs, but before I could take more than 2 steps, I heard metal creaking beneath me. Something was climbing the tower, fast, way too fast. The entire staircase rattled violently. I froze. I couldn't bring myself to look down through the gaps in the metal stairs. Then the climbing stopped. Right beneath the platform, I could hear breathing now. Wet, uneven breathing. And then, "Don't look at me," my voice again. Except This time it sounded distorted, like several voices trying to copy me at once. I slowly backed toward the little observation room in the center of the tower and shut the door. The lock barely worked. I remember holding the handle shut while listening to footsteps circle outside. One step at a time, slow, heavy. Metal groaned beneath its weight. Then came the knocking. 3 slow knocks against the door, then silence. 3 more. The sun had fully set by then. The windows had turned black. I couldn't see outside anymore. Only my own reflection staring back at me. And behind my reflection, for a split second, I saw movement. Tall shoulders, a face too close to the glass. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Then, from outside the door, I heard, "Please let me in." My own voice, crying now, begging. I remember actually reaching for the lock before something stopped me. Because mixed in with the crying, I could hear another sound underneath, breathing like an animal waiting. That's when the radio behind me suddenly crackled. I nearly screamed. A burst of static filled the room before a man's voice came through. Calm, old. If you're hearing it, do not answer the voice outside. I stared at the radio in disbelief. The voice continued. Do not let it inside the tower. Static swallowed the signal again. Then silence. Complete silence. Even the thing outside stopped moving. For maybe a full minute, nothing happened. And honestly, that silence was worse than the knocking. Then came the whistle. A low, uneven whistle circling the tower below. Not musical, not human. I looked out one of the windows and finally saw it clearly. It stood at the base of the tower, staring upward. Its body was pale and unnaturally thin. Its arms hung almost to the ground, but the worst part was its face. It looked unfinished, like someone had tried to shape a human face from memory and got most of it wrong. But the eyes looked almost completely normal, and they were focused directly on me. Then it smiled, using my face. I don't remember deciding to run. I just remember bursting through the door and sprinting down the stairs 2 at a time. The whole tower shook behind me. I heard metal screaming as something climbed after me. I hit the ground hard and ran into the trees without even looking back. Branches tore at my arms and face while I crashed through the forest in near darkness. And the entire time, I could hear myself calling from somewhere behind me. Wait, stop running, help me. Sometimes close, sometimes far away, but always my voice. Eventually, I saw the clearing where I parked my truck. I jumped inside, locked the doors, and sped down the logging road without turning around once. I reported the experience a few days later, mostly because part of me still wanted a rational explanation. The ranger station near the highway was still active, though barely. I told the old ranger there everything that happened. The footprints, the voice, the tower, all of it. He listened quietly the entire time. Then he asked me one question. Did it ask you to let it in? I remember feeling sick hearing that. I asked him what he meant, but he just stared at me for a moment before saying, "You're not the first person who's heard it up there." Then he told me the fire tower had officially been abandoned after multiple disappearances back in the 90s, mostly hikers. One search team apparently found a man sitting alone inside the tower days later, alive, but unable to speak. The ranger told me they eventually tore the stairs down years ago. I remember nervously and telling him that couldn't be true because I climbed those stairs myself. He didn't answer. I never went back to that trail, but sometimes late at night, when everything in my apartment is completely quiet, I hear 3 slow knocks on the wall beside my bed, and every single time, right before I fall asleep, I hear my own voice whisper, "Let me in."